Black Skull broadcast, because even the darkest stories deserve a bright punchline.
Welcome back to Black Skull Broadcast. We've already talked about the beef regarding Dak and Yo, but we have related news.
Oh, we definitely do.
I mean, imagine accidentally creating a real multi-million credit galactic syndicate just because you were, like, trying to win an internet argument.
Right. It's wild.
So today we're doing a deep dive into a joke that got so incredibly out of hand it became a literal institution. For you listening right now, you know how it is. You dock your freighter, you log into the Trade Federation market terminals, you're just looking for a decent freight contract, and you see these massive, sprawling arguments.
Oh, yeah, the typical public comms meltdown.
Exactly. Usually someone gets mad, someone gets blocked, and, the galaxy keeps spinning. The drama just fades. But here, the drama didn't fade. It incorporated.
It literally bought real estate.
Right.
And, I mean, that's a distinction we have to make today. We aren't just looking at a forum post anymore. It's the kind of thing you only see when people have spent way too much time staring at hyperspace streaks. We are analyzing a document that dropped on the network on year 27, day 169. It's a declassified official public communique titled The Emergence of the Council.
Which is just an incredible title.
It is, and I use the word official with a very heavy dose of irony, though legally speaking, it might actually be true now. The people who are laughing at Yo's massive, paranoid manifesto haven't just moved on to the next joke. They have doubled down so hard they broke through the floor of the holonet and landed in the real economy.
Okay, so let's look at the very top of this communique. It's signed by Mador, Nami, and Ling, and they have officially designated themselves as the co-chairs of the Antarian Rangers Simp Council.
Right. The Simp Council.
Which, just as a refresher, we all know Yo was running around using simp as his ultimate insult, right? Meaning self-important, mediocre person. He used it to describe anyone who didn't buy into his conspiracy about middlemen.
Yeah, but look at where they broadcasted this from. That's the crazy part.
Oh man, the location header?
They encoded a physical location into the header of the document. It literally says, the tavern, the Symposium in Simpleria on X2. With the exact planetary coordinates, too, 9460.
That is what absolutely blows my mind, because you know what it actually takes to claim coordinates on a planet like Exos 2?
A lot of credits.
Right. You don't just, type a fake address into a terminal and call it a day. In our galaxy, to get a registered location on the official nav charts, you have to secure the land.
You have to file the planetary zoning permits.
Yes. You need raw materials shipped in. You need construction droids or, local labor to build a physical structure.
You have to pay taxes on it.
Exactly. They are literally paying property taxes on a joke. They built an actual tavern called the Symposium.
I mean, this is where the strategy gets really fascinating to me. When someone throws a label at you, especially an insulting acronym like that, the natural instinct is to fight it.
Sure, you get defensive.
Right. You want to prove you aren't mediocre. You want to defend your reputation.
Yeah.
But Mador and Ling just looked at that playbook and threw it straight out the airlock.
They really did.
They realized that defending yourself just gives the attacker the power. It validates their premise that being a simp is a bad thing.
So they just stole the word.
They weaponized it. By hanging it over the door of a physical tavern, they drain every ounce of venom from the insult. It's a classic reappropriation tactic, but scaled up to a ridiculous degree.
It totally makes me think of that swoop bike gang out near the Perlemian Parade route.
Oh, the Rust Riders?
Yeah. The local sec forces hated them, started calling them the Rust Riders because their bikes were basically falling apart. The cops thought they were humiliating them, right?
But the gang loved it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The gang immediately paints Rust Riders on their jackets. They make it their official logo. And suddenly the cops gave them the coolest brand identity in the sector completely by accident.
It's the exact same mechanism. But Mador and Ling have actually attached a guiding philosophy to it.
Oh, the philosophy is wild.
In the opening of the communique, they literally write, while some call it childish behavior or losing a sense of reality, we prefer to call it the supreme art of not knowing when to stop.
Okay, I have to stop you there, though, because I look at this and I don't see brilliant satire. I see a massive cell phone.
Really? How so?
Well, think about it. Yudo's entire meltdown, his whole multi-day manifesto thing, was built on the paranoid idea that he was fighting a coordinated, organized syndicate.
Right.
He said there was a shadowy council colluding against him. And now Mador and Ling have gone and created a registered, organized council. Didn't they just prove his wildest conspiracy theory completely true?
See, you're assuming their goal is to prove him wrong. That's a mistake.
Wait, why wouldn't they want to prove him wrong? If I'm accused of being in a cartel, I want people to know I'm not.
Because proving a paranoid person wrong is basically impossible. If you act normal, they say you're hiding something.
Oh, that's true.
If you argue, they say you're defensive. Mador and Ling understand that the only way to win a game against someone operating with that level of delusion is to break the rules of the game entirely.
So they just embrace it.
Completely.
Mm.
They aren't accidentally proving him right. They are maliciously manifesting his nightmare just to show him how absurd it is. They are leaning into the villain role because it's much more fun than playing the victim.
The supreme art of not knowing when to stop. I mean, you know, in this galaxy, your reputation is your credit line.
It really is.
If you are known as a level-headed, rational trader, you get better rates. You get the good escrow agents. By putting out a statement saying they refuse to stop behaving childishly, aren't they risking real business?
Are they, though?
Yeah.
I mean, think about the people reading this.
The other traders.
Yeah, the independent haulers, the miners, the local system defense pilots. They read this, and they don't think Mador and Ling are actually childish. They think they are hilarious.
Well, okay, fair point.
In a weird way, this kind of extreme commitment to a bit actually builds a different kind of reputation. It shows they have capital to burn and they don't back down.
Yeah.
That commands a strange sort of respect on the market networks.
I can see that. Shows power. But, you know, you can't be a council with just 2 people sitting in a tavern on Sekar.
No, you need a full roster.
Exactly. A lore-owned faction needs a roster. Which brings us to the drafting phase of the document. The communique states they reviewed the Simp Galaxy dossier, which is just their mocking term for Yo's giant forum rants, and based on his categorizations, they are calling of 4 specific candidates to join the high table.
And this is where it goes from being a funny prank to a highly sophisticated social trap.
A trap.
Yeah, because as you and I know, and as the audience listening knows, these 4 guys, Krotorask, Roth, Turbandok, and Benak Algo, were already deep in the mud with this drama.
Right, they were all in the original threads.
But they were operating as individuals. The council is now attempting to formally conscript them.
Let's break down how they cornered these guys, starting with Krotorask. The communique calls him out for his, quote, half-spineless dedication.
Which is such a specific phrase.
It really is. They literally write, "We see you trying to give whatever you have to get in. Stop trying so hard. The door is already ajar."
So what stands out to you about that phrasing?
Honestly, it's incredibly condescending, but affectionately so.
Yes.
Because Yo called Croto half-spineless, because Yo thought Croto was desperate to kiss up to the popular crowd. Yo thought it was pathetic. So the council takes that exact insult and basically says, hey, we noticed you're desperate catching up. Good job, you're hired.
They are validating the perceived flaw. By telling him the door is already ajar, they are telling Croto that his efforts to be part of the joke have been recognized. But it puts Croto in a bizarre spot.
Totally. Because if Croto says, no thanks, I don't want to join, he suddenly looks like a guy who takes himself way too seriously.
He becomes a buzzkill.
Right. He breaks the illusion. But if he says yes, he's officially a registered half-spineless executive of a joke faction.
It's brilliant. And it gets even more aggressive with the next pick, Roth. We all know Roth was treating the original meltdown like a spectator sport.
Oh, yeah. He was just tossing one-liners from the cheap seats. Yeah. The classic Holonet heckler.
Yes, exactly. But look at what the council demands of him. They write, we know you still have a sense of decency holding you back. It is a heavy burden, Roth. Drop it. Join us and let the decency go.
Let the decency go. I mean, come on. That is such a cinematic villain line.
It really is. And it forces Roth to make a choice about his public persona. In Yo's paranoid framework, the people laughing from the sidelines were cowards who hadn't fully committed to the corruption.
Right. Yo hated the bystanders almost as much as the main guys.
So the council is telling Roth that sitting on the fence is no longer an option. If you want to hang out at the symposium, you have to check your objective morality at the door. You have to fully embrace the absurdity.
It's basically like a hazing ritual.
Yeah.
They're making him publicly shed his reputation as a decent guy to gain entry to the inner circle. And then you have Turban Doc. The council addresses him saying, you keep showing up whenever there is simp behavior afoot. We appreciate the persistence. It is time to stop sympathizing and start participating.
which is a direct play on Yo's label for him.
The sympathizer, right?
Right. Yo thought Turbin was this conflicted guy hovering around the edges of the bad crowd but never fully jumping in. What the council is doing here is highly strategic.
How so?
They are using Yo's own paranoid taxonomy as their literal organizational chart. They don't have to invent titles or roles for their members because Yo already did all the work for them.
He categorized everyone himself.
Exactly. The council is just picking up his blueprints and building the house. They are demanding that Turbin stop being a passive sympathizer and become an active operative.
Wow. But you know, the real masterpiece of this draft class is Binak Alko.
Oh, absolutely.
We all remember what Binak did. While everyone else was yelling and throwing insults, Binak quietly ran Yo's posts through AI language detectors because he was just clinically horrified by the sentence structure.
It was so funny. Binak brought a terrifying cold logic to a very emotional meltdown, and Yo absolutely hated him for it.
Despised him. Yo called him a newly emerged species of spineless simps. He accused Binak of hiding behind harmless lies.
So look at how the council addresses Binak.
Oh, it's so good. They say, as a member of the newly emerged species of spineless simps, you bring a level of moral flexibility that the council needs for its next phase of harmless lies.
They treat Yo's frantic, angry insult like it's a specialized university degree.
Exactly. It's like they're saying, oh, I see on your resume you have a master's in moral flexibility and a background in harmless lies. Great. We have an opening in our propaganda department. It's brilliant.
But think about the mechanical reality of this for a second. Put yourself in the boots of these four traders.
Okay.
You operate in a galaxy where trade depends entirely on trust.
Mm-hmm.
You move cargo, you negotiate with vendors, you rely on a solid reputation. Suddenly, you get a public notification that you've been drafted into the high table of a lore-owned faction whose explicitly stated goal is to tell harmless lies and lack decency.
It's literally a reputational hostage situation.
That's exactly what it is. It's a trap.
Yeah.
If they publicly decline, they kill the joke. The entire community turns on them for ruining the fun. They become the guy who couldn't handle the banter.
Nobody wants to be that guy.
Right. But if they accept, they permanently attach their names to a faction built entirely on the premise of being awful.
I don't know, though. I would argue it actually makes them safer, strangely enough.
Really? Safer?
Yeah. By joining the council, they form a bloc. If someone tries to mess with Bunak's shipping contracts, he's not just a solo trader anymore. He's backed by this weird, highly visible, culturally relevant syndicate.
That's a fair point. They have numbers now.
Which brings up the biggest problem with starting a fake faction. How do you manage the money?
Yes. The logistics of the joke.
Right, because you can declare yourself a council all day long, but in this galaxy, credits talk. And this is where Mador and Ling cross a terrifying line. Let's look at the operational standards and logistics section.
This part is unbelievable.
They announced that to streamline their economy, they are exclusively using DAC Cane to middle every single trade the Simp Council conducts.
We really have to unpack how devastatingly ironic this is.
It is layers upon layers of irony. Let's remind you of how this entire saga started.
Please do.
Before the meltdown, before the manifestos, the very first spark was Yo asking DAC Cane for a quote on Back to Transport. DAC gave him a standard, boring 35 million credit quote.
A completely normal quote.
Yeah, and Yo responded by accusing DAC of being a puppet for a shadow syndicate that was trying to force the market to use middlemen.
Right. Yo's core absolute belief was that a secret group of simps was using DAC Cane as their personal financial instrument to control trade.
So what does the newly minted Simp Council do? They release an official mandate declaring that DAC Cane is now legally and exclusively their personal financial instrument.
They literally just took Yo's wildest, most paranoid nightmare and made it their official corporate policy.
It's incredible.
They didn't just adopt the insult, they adopted the entire fictional conspiracy and made it operational. But, you know, I look at this and I see a massive structural shift in the market.
Wait, how so? It's just them messing with Yo.
Is it? Think about what escrow means in our galaxy. Middling a trade isn't just holding credits in a jar. It requires complex trust networks.
Sure.
When you hire someone like DAC Cane, a guy with massive freighter fleets and deep liquidity to middle your trades, you are centralizing your capital through his infrastructure.
Okay, sure, but they're just doing it for the bit.
The market doesn't care if you're doing it for a bit, though. The market only responds to the flow of credits. If the Simp Council is actively buying assets, securing territory on SEC, moving raw materials, and they are routing every single one of those transactions through DAC Cane, They are actually operating as a syndicate.
Wait a second. You're saying they accidentally built a real monopoly?
I'm saying the line between performance art and a functional economic cartel is defined entirely by whether or not the credit's clear. And Dak Kane makes sure the credit's clear.
Oh, man, that is wow. And look at the next line in the communique. It says, to further optimize our schedule, DAC will even make our purchases through vendors on our behalf. This strategic delegation ensures that the council members no longer have to worry about the trivialities of shopping.
The trivialities of shopping.
I can't get over that phrase. In a galaxy of merchants where finding the best vendor and haggling the best price is the literal core of your survival, they are calling it a triviality.
It's a projection of extreme, almost aristocratic power. They are positioning themselves as beings who are so elevated, so entirely focused on the pure, abstract concept of simping, that they can't be bothered to open a vendor terminal. They just have their heavy hauler logistics boss do their grocery shopping for them.
Can you imagine being a vendor?
It would be so confusing.
Right. You get a ping on your terminal. It's a massive bulk order for construction materials or high-grade rill or whatever. And the buyer is Dak Kane. You think, wow, I'm doing business with a major logistics firm.
A huge whale of a client.
Exactly. And then you find out he's just running an errand for a couple of guys sitting in a tavern on Second Aid who thought it would be funny to hire him as a personal shopper.
It is deeply insulting to the standard operating procedures of the galaxy, which is exactly the point. They are weaponizing convenience to assert dominance.
That makes sense.
But again, I have to point out the danger here. Dak Kane is a real operator. If he is managing the purse strings for a dedicated group of high-profile traders who have decided to pool their resources, I mean, Yo was right.
He wasn't right when he said it.
No, but he manifested it. His paranoia created the conditions that forced his enemies to organize. He built the monster that is now eating him. And this monster has a very specific growth plan.
Right. That brings us to the future outlook section. Ling and Mador state that once the core 4 Croto, Roth, Turbin, Binak are stabilized and fully trained in their specific brand of behavior, they are going to open applications.
But not open applications to the general public.
No. They explicitly state they will release applications to the rest of the 25 identified individuals.
Why 25?
Well, because that is the exact specific number Yo used in his final breakdown. You remember, he kept claiming he was standing up for 1,975 silent, normal people against a corrupt mob of exactly 25 ass-kissers. He threw that number out there like it was hard data.
It's fascinating because people in extreme states of paranoia often latch onto highly specific numbers to make their delusions feel mathematically grounded.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it gives the illusion of control. He didn't say a bunch of people, he said 25.
And so the council restricts their membership to exactly 25. They are saying, all right, you said there were 25 of us. We will fill exactly 21 more chairs, no more, no less.
It is a brilliant use of artificial scarcity.
It really is.
By capping the membership at 25, they instantly turn this joke into an exclusive club. If you were one of the people in the forums mocking you, Joe, you are suddenly looking at a limited number of seats at the high table. It creates competition among the trolls.
You want to be one of the 25. It's like a badge of honor.
Exactly. And the council knows that being one of the 25 carries a certain kind of stain. They write that applications will be open to those who wish to have the filth splashed onto them.
They know it's toxic. They are openly advertising the toxicity.
They are framing membership as a willing baptism in the sludge of the holonet. It's a filtration mechanism. If you are worried about your pristine corporate image, you won't apply. They only want people who are willing to get dirty for the sake of the narrative.
Which perfectly sets up their official sign-off. I mean, if you read a press release from the corporate sector authority, they sign off with things like progress through synergy or your security is our priority.
They promise order and reliability.
Right. But the Simp Council signs off with 4 words: stay disrespectful, stay unfixed.
That is a total rejection of the galactic corporate standard.
Stay disrespectful is obvious, I think. It means never give Yo the polite, standardized customer service response he demanded from Doc Kane on day 1. But stay unfixed, that one hits hard.
Because Yo constantly framed himself as the savior.
Yeah.
He literally wrote paragraphs about how he was trying to fix the community. He viewed the people who disagreed with him as broken machinery that needed his moral repair.
He actually said, I'm not going to waste my time trying to fix the ones who refuse to be fixed.
And so they adopt "stay unfixed" as their battle cry. It is a declaration of permanent rebellion against his morality. They are saying, We recognize that you think we are broken, and we are choosing to stay this way. We prefer our chaotic, broken state to your rigid, paranoid order.
It's surprisingly philosophical for a group of guys just, shitposting from a tavern.
Well, the best satire always has a philosophical core.
That's true. But the best satire also costs credits, which brings us to the final section of this document, Section 5, where they actually pass the hat.
Ah, yes, the monetization of the conflict.
The council writes, the Simp Council is officially a lore-owned faction, but it is not cheap to maintain this level of dedication to the cause. Support the movement and keep simping alive in the galaxy by sending your donations to us directly or through our middleman, Dak Kane.
This is the ultimate test of their experiment.
Seriously.
They have successfully transitioned from free public mockery to soliciting actual capital.
We talked about the costs of Exasecond earlier. It is astronomically expensive to maintain a lore-owned faction. You have administrative upkeep, you have physical assets, you have to pay the pilots who haul the Corellian ale to your tavern. They are burning through millions of credits just to keep this joke alive, and they are asking the galaxy to crowdfund it.
So the question is, will the galaxy actually pay?
You tell me. You study market psychology. Are independent haulers, people who scrape by on razor-thin margins, really going to transfer their hard-earned credits to Dak Kane just to fund a monument to a forum argument?
Honestly, I believe they will.
They're crazy. Why would anyone pay for that?
Because they aren't paying for a joke. They're paying for a sense of belonging. The galaxy is massive, cold, and incredibly isolating.
That's true.
You sit in a cockpit for weeks on end, monitoring hyperspace lanes, entirely alone. When you log onto the HoloNet and see a massive, culturally defining event happening, even a toxic one, you want to be part of it.
So donating is like buying a souvenir t-shirt.
It's more like paying a cover charge at an exclusive club. By sending credits to Dak Kane, a random miner out in the Outer Rim gets to feel like they are part of the Simp Council. They get to participate in the narrative. In a purely transactional universe, people will pay a premium for shared cultural experiences.
So they are literally crowdfunding their irony. But here's the thing that keeps me up at night.
What's that?
Let's say it works. Let's say the donations just flood in. Dak Kane is sitting on a massive war chest of credits. The tavern on Gistade expands into a massive fortified complex. The high table of 25 is fully staffed by the most ruthless, sarcastic traders in the galaxy. They are buying bulk assets, controlling shipping lanes through Dak, and operating with total efficiency.
The house built on a joke becomes a real house.
Exactly. If they reach that level of operational capacity, is it still a joke? Or does it cross the event horizon?
This is the existential risk of institutionalizing satire. If you pretend to be a ruthless, tightly knit economic cartel for long enough, the market will treat you like a ruthless, tightly knit economic cartel.
Right.
The origins of the faction will fade into historical trivia. 5 standard years from now, new traders will log into the network, see the Simp Council dominating a sector of trade, and they won't know about Yo.
They won't know about the 35 million credit Bacta quote.
Exactly. They will just see a powerful, eccentric syndicate that routes everything through Dak Kane.
The irony burns away, and only the power remains.
They will have successfully manifested an empire out of pure spite.
It is the most terrifying and impressive thing I have ever seen on the trade networks. We started with one guy overpaying for shipping because he was paranoid about middlemen. And through a series of social avalanches, we have arrived at a formalized, lore-owned, donation-funded syndicate operating out of a physical tavern, demanding its members drop their decency and embrace moral flexibility.
The HoloNet isn't just a place where people talk. It's a forge. And if you pump enough heat and pressure into an argument, you can forge a whole new reality.
And that is exactly what you need to remember next time you log into the trade hubs. When you are haggling over prices or looking for an escrow agent or reading someone's massive rant on the comms, realize that the line between a digital persona and a real-world institution is basically non-existent.
It really is.
The words you type, the grudges you hold, the insults you throw around, they don't just vanish into the void. In a galaxy this connected, your petty squabbles are raw material. And if you aren't careful, someone might just use your words to build an empire.
The market doesn't care why you formed a syndicate. It only cares that you did.
Next time you find yourself the target of an unhinged rant on the comms, next time someone throws 100 million credits in your face and accuses you of being part of a shadow council, ask yourself, do you ignore it? Do you fight it? Or do you gather your friends, secure some land on Excess, declare yourself a lore-owned faction, and start charging admission to your own villainy? Keep your comms open and your humor sharp out there.